Wow, what an opportunity to just share about how the missions team came to the French speaking part of Africa in 1989. I did have last week, a few days ago, the opportunity to interview the only team member out of 18 team members. She's the only one who has remained on the missions field for the past 32 years. Enjoy the conversation I had with Nina Toyo. Thank you. Thank you, Nina, for just taking out some time for us to have this conversation. I know that what's really noteworthy when I think of you is the fact that you're the only person who was originally on the missions team to Abidjan, who is still here. There was a team that came here in 1989, but you're right, still here. And so we're trying to take full advantage of your presence to just get to know a lot about what happened in the beginning of the mission. I just wanted to start by just mentioning that for an American, it implies that you had to learn probably the language, French language, and had to adapt to a new culture, right?
Right.
Completely different. So please, as we start out this conversation, can you just share how did you even get to that point where you made up your mind
Okay.
to leave your country and come to a new culture to see souls saved?
Okay, thank you, Gilbert. I kind of feel like I'm the accidental missionary. I was converted back in 1986 in New York City, and every year we would go to Boston for the old timers, the conferences up in Boston, missions conferences, and I went to the Africa missions. And Amberjit Tolliver gave such a moving speech. Before her speech, there was a call for the Abidjan missions. I had never heard of it. The city, the word Abidjan, I had never even heard of it.
That's amazing.
And her message was so moving. So I thought I would just go over, not to volunteer for the mission, but just to be involved, just to see how I could understand more, support. When they gave criteria, Mike Tolliver gave criteria of why one should not go on a mission team. And all those criteria, none of those criteria applied to me. So a whole group of people walked out the room, and I'm a school teacher and single, no children. So I had the flexible career, the education, the financial means to come on this mission. I honestly told the women who were interviewing that I had a very low interest. On a scale from 1 to 10, I said 4. Because I felt like teaching in New York City was a mission for me. I taught in inner city New York where I grew up, and I was having impact there. But 2 months later, when the call came, I honestly felt like I had no reason to say no. That there's whatever I'm doing here in New York City, I can do there. And to tell you the truth, I didn't think it was going to be for 32 years now. I thought it would be for, a year, 6 months. I don't know how long ever God wants to use me, but I just really had the idea that I could not say no.
Yeah.
And actually my mother had the idea how to get the money to go on to pay for my ticket to come. She decided my grandfather had an insurance policy, and we just cashed it in, and there was the money to go.
Wow.
I had my high school French, but high school French in the 80s, French in New York City was just a pastime. So honestly, when I got here, all my French teachers in New York were Americans who had been to Europe. It's completely different. They're coming to speaking with native speakers in their home countries, and so it was a challenge. But I love to sing, so I think singing, learning the song, the cantiques for the songs from church helped me to and getting to know the wonderful people of Côte d'Ivoire. Even when I would go out and evangelize, I would make so many mistakes. For months, I would just invite people in any kind of way, and there was a brother with me, a French brother. He said, "What are you saying?" What are you saying? Because I would mix up the two words that sound alike.
That's right.
To attend means to participate in something, but in French it means to wait for something. So I was actually telling people to come and wait for my Bible talk. I could have 6-8 visitors. They were coming to wait.
They were willing to do so.
They were willing to wait for something that was going to happen, and by God's grace, something did happen. And so really, it was we just came here. We were all young. I think there were 3 married couples, 2 married couples, and the rest of us were singles. We were all young. It was just really to be here, have fun, serve people, love people. Discover the beauty of Africa.
That's right.
And then when I met Julien, he's from Togo, so again, we never imagined that we would be here. That's another little subtle trick that God played on us because, we never imagined that. And then even when he started with the administration, we thought we'd go wherever the administration would take us or whatever. So,
that's right.
So it's been an experience. It's been a delightful, of course, up and down challenges, but that's life.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. Thanks for sharing that. And I just wanted to find out, you were mentioning some teams, some members of the team, the missions team that came here. What was it like to be part of that team, even coming here? What was it like?
In hindsight, our mission team was like no other mission team that I had ever seen. When I was in New York, I saw the team go off to Johannesburg. I saw the team go off to Brazil, to Sao Paulo, and they had planning trips. They moved to be in the same mission, the same devos. They moved to be in the same sectors. Abidjan, we came from the 4 corners of the world, and we did not know each other. I don't think I knew anybody. I had seen Christine. I had seen Julie. Julie Alike from Kenya. We were in the same zone, and we had maybe had lunch together one time because the church was small back then. But really, the others, we had people come from Boston, all scattered throughout New York, London, Paris, San Diego, and we did not know each other. And maybe 1/3 of the group spoke French, and the other of us really were little or nothing.
That's right.
But I remember the nights we would play Uno in the hotel room, in Eric Lebert's hotel room, because he had the biggest room there.
I can imagine.
And just got to know each other. Got to go, and it was really a fantastic experience back in the day because we weren't under the stress of. It was really, we're here to meet people, to love people, let God do the work.
That's fantastic. Because you mentioned that you're coming to have fun while serving.
Right.
So it takes away a lot of the pressure.
Right. I did not work for the church. I don't know for the others.
That's right.
But I did not work for the church.
Yeah.
And I never had any training in missionary work.
That's right.
So I was the first non-employed missionary. Those who came before me had worked for the church. I was the first one that got here. So I did not know anything about ministry, mission, statistics, goals, or anything like that. So it was, you're a disciple, come and go out on the street, talk to people. We also had the wonderful work with Hope Worldwide. Mark Anuel, an incredible man with an incredible heart for the lost, for the suffering.
Yeah.
So he got us quickly involved in sensitizing people about HIV/AIDS.
That's right.
Serving the poor, and it was a delight. It really gave us meaning to our lives.
That's right.
And I really could say that the mission here gave even more meaning to my life than ever before.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you've literally seen a small group of, was it 15 members or something like that?
We always have to count again on our fingers.
I know, right? I know, right? Yeah, probably 18, right?
18.
That's right.
Right.
So to see that small group, I came here in '94, so the mission had been here for like 5 years, about that. And I remember a church of about 500 and something members, and then to watch it become 2,000 and more in Abidjan, and spread across French Africa, something like over 3,500 disciples.
Right.
But you were there when it was just a small group.
Right.
So how's it been watching that? Well, how do you feel? I'm just trying to imagine in your place.
how can I feel? It's just something, it's like watching your child grow.
That's right.
Yeah. She's a baby, and then before you know it, she's walking, and you don't remember. You remember the first steps, okay? Like I remember we used to all have midweek service downtown, and I remember when the sector of Abobo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Abobo that's in the north,
And then
when they
Upugom.
started having midweek service.
Yeah.
It's like seeing your baby take first steps. We
That's
were
right.
excited.
That's
Then
right.
Yopougon went and started having their midweek service.
That's right.
And so it really, the evolution of the church it was so natural. You meet we started, practically all the first people in the church were met in downtown.
That's right.
But what I
Plateau.
said is Plateau.
Yeah.
But you met people who lived
From
in
different-
other regions of the city.
That's right.
And at night, they needed to be in their region. So
Yeah.
once there were 2 or 3 or 5, it made sense to have their service
Something
out
going
there.
on there.
And, so really, I'm proud of the church because it was a natural evolution. Really fantastic people the first disciples in Abidjan
That's right.
were responsible heads of households,
That's
professionals.
Right. That's right.
Who really wanted to see their lives change, wanted to see their families transformed, and to see, the dad, the mom, the children become disciples.
Yeah.
I think our first teen ministry had maybe 5 girls or something like that, So it's before you know it, it's like looking at my own 3 daughters. They're 25, 23, 18. I'm like,
amazing.
where did the time go? Where did the time go?
That's right.
They drive cars, they're at college, and you're like, when did this happen? And so it's the same thing seeing the church being what it is today.
What a beautiful analogy.
It's an amazing, it was an amazing experience.
That's a beautiful analogy. To wrap up, what will you advise? You'll be talking about the younger generation
Right.
coming up.
Right.
What will you advise younger people who would like to make that leap of faith that you made in your youth to go on mission? So what will you advise them?
Today, more than ever, you as a young person, you have the opportunity to be informed. When they invited me to come on the mission team, I got my old World Book Encyclopedia. And so I don't think anybody under 40 knows what that is today. Took out the book, looked up Abidjan or Côte d'Ivoire, saw a picture of downtown Abidjan, maybe this size, said, okay, there's some buildings there. Okay, there's something. I think more than ever, we need to be informed about the world around us.
That's right.
And I think that's the thing that will feed our missionary heart. And it'll make you equipped. I think it'll feed your prayers. It'll feed your desire that God can lead you to go somewhere.
That's right.
And also just build friendships where you are now. Because if you're not somebody who's open, who's tied in, who gets to know new people,
That's right.
where you are now, whether it be inside the church, at your workplace, at your school, at your in your neighborhood, it's going to be very challenging.
That's right.
Like I said, with our mission, we didn't know each other. We did not know each other at all.
That's right.
But we were so open with each other, and today, how many years later now? When I had Christine, Nadia call me. I just had an operation. Nadia calls me. I'm fasting for you. Somebody that
Amazing.
years ago I didn't even know.
That's
Today, as soon as I got out of the hospital, Christine called me. How are you doing? This starts with the character traits or things that you need to do. Even where you are.
That's right.
So I think that's the advice that if I can give people going on a mission is really just trusting yourself in God. I also want to encourage young people to follow your education, to develop skills.
Absolutely.
Because I think for our mission, we were all professionals.
That's right.
As far as I know, most of us paid besides those who were working for the church,
That's right.
most of us paid our tickets to get here.
That's right.
And so we were all professionals in one way or
That's
another.
so key.
So that helped us to come and be able to support the church.
That
helped
so
us to also have an impact on the type of people that we met.
That's right.
So just really trust yourself with God. I'm so grateful. I have a life that is incredible and that I don't envy anybody. America is great. I still have my heart beats for the U.S., but I am amazed what God has done with my life in these past, even I would say even from 1986. But
That's amazing. Thank you, Nina. Welcome back, and I trust that you did enjoy my conversation with Nina Toyo. In fact, I had also a conversation with her husband, who was the administrator of the church in the early days. They were both singles in the beginning. She met her husband in Abidjan. But right now, I want to also invite you to watch. The church grew because they also had the opportunity to meet in different venues, in strategic places. I was privileged to join the mission in Abidjan 1994, coming from Germany. And so right now I want to invite you to enjoy with me a short video of the venue where the church met for many years until the church now started splitting into regions. So at that time, the whole church met in one venue. Enjoy. This is amazing. This is the hall where I attended my first Sunday service, La Bourse du Travail. When I arrived here in 1994, in October, the church was meeting here. A church of about 540 members, 40 or 60 members, if my memory doesn't fail me. And this was the key place where we met. It was just a dream to see God's work and God's movement grow here and develop here in just amazing ways. I have the opportunity, I ask for permission to just take a few of these images and pictures so I can be able to say more about this hall and the impact that this hall had in the advancement of the church here in Abidjan. The memories are incredible. The bricks are still there, those brown bricks. And Hervé or Blaise or other people will stand right in front there and preach the word. And I used to stand right behind here in this section here. Okay, this last part here, the English-speaking Anglophones will sit here, and I will translate the message into English as they are preaching. And I have many stories to share about that, but it's just amazing to be here and to walk on the steps and I feel like crying. And to just relieve so many. Rivera used to sit here, and teenagers. When I led the teens, this should be the section where the teens would love to sit. We have a particular way we would dance during service. We had particular aerobics we would do depending on the song. So different parts of different regions had different sections of the hall that they would sit in. And when I led Treshville, I think it was somewhere up there. It's amazing. Your Pugong, your Abubo. And this was where I stood when I arrived from Germany and had my first French language message, a Lord's Supper message from 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 14 to 15. And I couldn't speak good French, but people saw the zeal, the fire, the gratitude. And the sister told me, we didn't understand what you said, but we could tell that you love God. That's where I started with learning French. And today I get to speak, and I'll be speaking to the church in Paris next Sunday in French. And all of that, most of that was in this very hall. History was made right here. I'm just blown away that I can come back and see this. And this is history. And those of us who were here during that time, you know what I'm talking about. You know the emotions, you know the feelings that are aroused as we even just see these images and remember what God did using this environment. To God alone be the glory. How was it watching La Bourse du Travail de Treshville, where I met the church, and I'm sure you enjoyed that. Another very strategic aspect of church growth was not just the meeting venues like what we saw in the previous video, it's also the use of apartments. I mean, we had brothers' apartments, sisters' apartments, especially as singles. When they got married, they now graduated into having homes of their own. But we've been traditionally using our homes for ministry, for Bible talks, and so on. Where I also met the church, when I came to Abidjan, there was one of those apartments in the central business district where I lived with other brothers, other leaders. I'd like to just give you a snapshot of that period, that season in the growth of the church. Enjoy. This is a very emotional time for me to revisit this particular building in Abidjan. This is a building where there was a brother's flat, and the first time I came to Abidjan, we're living on the 4th floor of this building, Immeuble Géant. And I'm telling you, I don't know how many people studied the Bible in this flat, how many people counted the costs. We had different Bible talks, discipling times, fun times. I mean, God worked in this building. History, it's become a holy place for me to come back and just be able to revisit this building, Immeuble Géant. We keep talking about it, sharing about the impact that, you know, staying here made on the advancement and the growth of the church. We used to even stand right out here. This is the administrative part of the city. We used to stand right outside here and preach during lunchtime, lunch breaks, because this is really, it's quiet right now, but during the week, it's full as people come in from other parts of the city to come work here in Plateau, which is the central part of the city. And this used to be a school opposite here. It looks really run down. I don't think that is a school anymore. It was called Coupige, and some disciples, including Francis Dassé, who is now the evangelist in Accra, whom I just came from visiting yesterday in Accra, and I'm on my way back to Lagos and having a stopover, 7-hour layover. So I'm taking advantage to visit some of these really incredible locations where God really worked mightily. Down the street is another spot where we used to preach, street preaching. Politicians and philosophers will come and share their thoughts and their ideas, but we will use that place. It was like Athens, the philosophers of Athens. They used to call it La Sorbonne. La Sorbonne. Sorbonne is a French symbol for intellectualism and philosophy. The university in Sorbonne, and so they used to call it La Sorbonne, where people come and share ideas and thoughts. So it was the Abidjan version of the Areopagus in Athens, which I visited, by the way, 2013, some years ago. 2017 was Israel. And so this is a really, I mean, the memories that are coming alive here. We had disciples working in different companies here. There was a brother working in an oil company in the building across, behind the bus that you can see right now. Bukoye, he rented the flat and pulled us in to stay with him. But he used his time in that oil company to really serve the church in amazing ways financially. I still remember he was the first brother I know that gave 10 million francs CFA to the Abidjan church. There's just so much history, so much to recount. And it's amazing how when you come to the right place, so many memories come alive. There are memories that have been buried for a long time, but as you just get to the right places, so many faces, so many events just come alive. And this whole environment for me became like my environment, like my Jerusalem back then. When I arrived here in '94, it was like a Jerusalem for me, where the gospel was shared. These buses will pour into the city from Monday to Friday in the morning, pour people in here like ants, and we'll be preaching the word, reaching out to people. In the evening, the place gets emptied as they leave the city, going out to live in Yopougon and different parts of the city of Abidjan. So I just couldn't help but use this few moments of stopover in Abidjan to share some more, because as I visit places like this, the memories come back. God's Spirit worked and moved in this city and in this environment, and I just have incredible memories crossing here to go preach, meeting disciples in their offices for DP time. I mean, the memories abound. Kwadjo and Shade lived not far from here. I was even their disciple at some point. Shade was the first sister, the first person to be baptized in the Lagos church. Got married to a brother from Abidjan, the first international wedding. So we get the atmosphere of how the city center would normally be. But during the week, you see crowds of people here. Now it's a weekend, it's Saturday, So it's quiet, and I used to love the quietness over the weekends where you get renewed and refreshed, and then the week begins again and gets busy. It's amazing what God has done in this environment. So along with those apartments like the one we just saw in the video in the Central Business District, we will actually go to very key places to go share the gospel. And I was privileged just 2 days ago, coming back from the trip, 2 days ago during a layover, I was privileged to go to one of those strategic places, and I'm sure you will be inspired watching this. This is another incredible part of the city center. We have the administrative buildings, government administrative buildings, and this was just an incredible place where for years we will come, share the word, study with people. And I'm going to show you very soon one of the trees that we're approaching now as I walk down, where we used to have Bible talks in the open. At midday, in the French system, between 12 and 2, people leave their offices and they go eat, go to restaurants, some take a siesta. So between 12 and 2 was when the ministry in this part of the city used to take place. Whereas in the residential parts of the city, like Yopougon, Abubo, and the rest, the ministry was run in the evening when people are back in their homes. But for those who used to work in the city center, by the time they get home, they're tired, they're exhausted. So the best place to get them is during their lunch break. And it's enough time, between 12 and 2. I remember traveling to Spain with my wife, and we're blown away that at midday, everywhere was closed up. Shops are closed up. So the French system has that, and we really took full advantage of that period of the day to spread the gospel in amazing ways. People were available. Those who really wanted to study the Bible, 2 hours is enough time. That's when they will come to the flat that I just talked about, that we just visited a few minutes ago. The brothers' flat, where we have different leaders living there together. Most of us were single back then, and so people will come, study the Bible there, and they'll have a meal, or if they come there, we'll share something with. Anyway, they have 2 hours to manage that time, including Bible study and having a meal or resting or something, and they're back in their offices by 2 to close by 5 o'clock. So this is just such an iconic part of the city where the gospel did spread incredibly. Because if you look at these buildings, I mean, how many floors are these? It's something like almost 30 floors, 20 something floors or so, all the way up there. And you got 3 of them, or actually 4 of these buildings right here. So you can imagine how many government workers, how many administrators are here. This is like the central administration for the nation. And so people come from all parts of Côte d'Ivoire to come get their pension, to come get whatever it is. They have all those ministries run from here. Very iconic part of the city, and God worked in mighty ways. I did promise you guys that we're going to get to where we used to do Bible talks in the open. I remember us having a debate right here under this tree. This is an iconic tree. It's a historic place where we had the debates. There was one debate that was between us and a group that teaches that you can't lose salvation. We call them here the Branhamists. And there was a public debate where they will give their argument why they believe you can't lose salvation, irrespective of whether you live in sin, whatever you do. Once saved, always saved. And then on our part, we had our representative who will argue that you can actually lose salvation. Remember, Hebrews 10, 26 to 31 was one of those key scriptures that were used. And that happened right here. And guess what? You can see, I just zoomed on the building right in front of us. It says Cité Administrative 2A. So you have 2A, that's the A tower, then you have the B tower, and then you have the C tower, and over there you have the D tower. So these are all towers, administrative blocks. And right here, history has been made. They've actually made the place up. It's looking clean and nice. At first it was round. Right now it's a square under the tree. But back then it was a circle. People would sit round it, stand, and the shade from the tree will attract so many people at midday. Just like in Athens, the Areopagus, they will gather here to listen to God's word being taught, being shared, being expressed, being discussed. And disciples will come around and engage with those who were responding well to the discussion or to the message. I remember my ministry when it comes to translation. I used to translate for the person speaking in French. I'll translate in English. One of them used to be very dramatic in the way he speaks. I will translate even his body language. When he runs up and down this plate, I'll be running with him, doing exactly what he does. That's where I learned in public, doing ministry and developing the gift of translation and interpretation, if you like. And so the memories abound. People love to hear people speak English in this environment. So some will just stand because they're just admiring hearing me translate and hear it in English. Just the sound of it. You know, God will use anything. In the book of Acts chapter 3, he will use the miracle, Peter and John, when they told this guy to wake up, to stand up and walk at Solomon's colonnade. He said when the crowd saw it, they now rushed. And so when they were rushing out to go and check out what has happened, Peter now stood up to preach. So we'll use our gifts. We'll do a drama sketch that will attract people. Brother Hubert was telling me about how they did a drama sketch in one of the parts of the city, Pobwe. They went to a very dangerous part of the city, and they did a drama sketch of somebody being robbed. And people thought it was an actual robbery. They called the police, they called the fire brigade, whatever, to come and intervene because they thought it was for real. And then that attracts people and they start preaching the word. There was creativity in the way we went about sharing God's word. Our youth, our vigor, our energy was used to spread the gospel. I couldn't help but take a break here. There's so much more to say, which we can share when we meet on Zoom, but I just had to take advantage of my stay here. I have a flight to catch in the next 3 hours or so. So I'm taking advantage of the time in the city quickly to grab and visit some of these holy sites. They've become holy because we transformed these sites into places where the gospel came alive in our generation. And we're here sharing these things to inspire the younger generation to use their youth to glorify God. I pray that this inspires you as you watch, as you listen. And if you want to be sure that it's not faked, I'm going to swap this thing. I need to get good in technology on my phone to be able to just do a selfie mode, but you can check it out. It's my voice and it's me, and you can see the background right here. I hope you can see it. See you soon. I know that those who were there back then were very inspired, and so many memories came up as you watched that clip, that video, about the way the ministry spread, especially in the central business district of Abidjan. Right now, I just want to show you what has happened, especially with meeting venues. Many regions are having their own venues, but we happen to have today in Abidjan like a central meeting venue where the whole church meets. I happened to get a few of those shots while I was in Abidjan a few days ago. Enjoy. Yeah, this is the building where when the church meets together, all the different regions, this is where they all converge and convene. I still remember this building 2007 when I was leaving Abidjan for Cameroon and later on to Lagos. This building was incomplete, it was still under construction. The church will meet here without a roof, and that was inspiring the brothers and sisters to know that they will soon be having a building of their own. Right now, there's even a school, and you can actually see one of the students being accompanied to school this morning. So there's a second part of the building that's actually a school and inhabits students from even non-Christians or non-church members who are part of this school. An amazing project, an amazing vision that has come a long way. Amazing. I really believe you've enjoyed watching this couple of videos to really have a real life experience of how the mission spread from 89 till date, with venues, with strategic places, and just an approach to the ministry. There's going to be a part two of the history of French Africa as concerns the way the Spirit has worked to spread the gospel. Tune in for part two. Thanks for this.